tearing through the haze. Kids lost screaming in the system's maze. Lies unfold behind paper-thin walls. Stealing hope, ripping dreams, all the calls. Gunning for justice, we won't back down. Fighting for the lost in every broken town. Judges blind, caseworkers turn their eyes. Lift your fist, scream, their lies won't paralyze. Families they shatter with the stroke of a pen. Truth buried deep, oh here we go again. Gunner's voice pounding, raising up the fight. Justice ain't a whisper, it's a battle tonight. Gunning for justice, we won't back down. Fighting for the lost in every broken town. Judges blind, caseworkers turn their eyes. Lift your fist, scream, their lies won't paralyze. Families they shatter with the stroke of a pen. Truth buried deep, oh here we go again. Gunner's voice pounding, raising up the fight. Justice ain't a whisper, it's a battle tonight. System cracks, red tape wins tight, but the spirit won't break, even in the night. From the ashes, the cry gonna rise up strong. With every heartbeat, it fuels the song. Corruption crawls, spreading like a fire. But passion burns hotter, crawling up higher. The system ain't ready for the storm that's us. One by one, we're breaking their rust. Corruption crawls, spreading like a fire. But passion burns hotter, crawling up higher. The system ain't ready for the storm that's us. One by one, we're breaking their rust. Oh!
Hey guys, welcome to Gunning for CPS. I'm your host, Gunner. This is a special report edition with the recent highlights of Charlie Kirk being assassinated. Is the term. We're not going to use the term killed. We're going to use the word assassinated for his beliefs, for speaking out, and for exposing corruption on many different levels. With most of the things that are going on, we need to take and remember not to lose sight of what this is. This is very similar to what has happened when Nancy Schaefer was killed. This is about all the raids that are happening and exposing the child trafficking that is going on in our nation, and how that Charlie Kirk was using his platform to turn college-minded students where the mass corruption and the programming of the future of America to change their point of views. Now, one, we know this person was actually um, decently, at least somewhat trained whatsoever in shooting. Obviously, not enough because I've talked to several people. I did speak with several people that were on the ground at the particular event, that were actually there on site. I've talked to several other resources, so on and so forth. If you're going to look at the different things that were happening in these particulars. One, you're going to have to look at the way the stage was. One, this was a sunken quad or performance stage that they had, whatever it may be, or what they may call that there at that college. But one, we're going to have to look at what's called line of sight. Line of sight saying, well, people were saying, a lot of people said, well, check the dorms, check this, check that. The building that was off to the right, if you look, the way he was positioned, it would have been on his left hand side as though I'm facing you. And the trajectory and everything else, once you have to look at an entry wound and an exit wound, was taken out through here, as you can clearly see, and completely out the backside, which once again hit the jugular, hit a lot of other things there. One thing is, it's possibly that it was a, we'll say particularly a chest shot or a headshot that maybe windage wasn't corrected. One, shooting down range was another thing. The other thing is the difference in the mathematics that goes between the impact and the crack of the shot, making that shot less than 500 yards. Once again, that's talking to people that are very well trained in this stuff, as well as sights on the ground. You're going to have to look at several videos. If you're looking, that would have been straight off, and there's one video that shows off in a gray building, highly elevated. One, you got to remember you're shooting over the crowd. There's one part, even though that there were, it was sunken, and you'll look and it was kind of like the where he was sunken, and kind of out. But let's not forget what this is about. This is about child trafficking that has been cracked on, cracked on, cracked on, left and left and right. You're seeing them come after them. Of course, they're going to take out some of their mouthpieces and some of the other people. But the sway and the impact, I don't think that they have calculated is with taking out Charlie Kirk and his platform, is what did he have to say that was so damning or so controversial or so against exposing, or he was getting ready to expose in some of these different things, or maybe even an upcoming engagement that he had on his schedule that may have to be looked at as well, that this was just an opportunity to take him out before he was scheduled to take maybe other speaking engagements that other people don't know about. um, Everybody's got their own political views as far as what Charlie Kirk was or not, but the issue is that this is still freedom of speech, and he brought the art of debate back to what we were doing, whether you liked him or not. He brought back that art of debate of bringing rational thinking and everything else, and having both sides and being very well prepared for a lot of things. A lot of people say, well, that's attacking college students, but he's even brought on, if you've followed some of the different things through there, look at some of the excerpts of even professors that were teaching at these universities, that he challenged even with some of the stuff that was said. Um, Once again, this all comes back to what is the number one money making thing for these people? And it comes down to, it has to do with child trafficking. It's the number one thing that's in there. Speaking of more than that, I've got something to share with you guys now. Listen, I don't have TikTok. I don't, but I'm going to put a link. And if you guys are following my page too, I'm going to put it up here on this show. And there's a TikTok that's out there that was a news report. You can go to it in Louisville, Kentucky, that talks about a story that the news investigative team, that because an attorney was standing up for the rights of a mother in a case with CPS, CPS then retaliated by taking the attorney's kids for standing up for that mother. That is mass corruption on a tremendous level. And why they don't get involved in this stuff and turn around and snag these people up for stuff, but it shows the corruption in the state of Kentucky for what they're doing. You're going to have a where did the attorney, or even what was the cause of anything else? And as you guys know, we have that involved in our case, which, like I said, we're in the process of going through several different things. Um, but this, we even covered this, and like I said, within our pre-recorded show of the history of CPS that we've done for many platforms. Now that show was pre-recorded. That was our show this Sunday. We kind of killed two birds with one stone with that show, but a lot of that had to do with showing you how far away from Title IV, even under the purpose of Title IV and the Social Security Fund, that turns around and says this is the purpose, and the purpose is to reunify families, two parent homes, and pushing them back towards those things, basically to get this money. And that's not what they're doing. And what they were talking about was two parent homes. And some people agree or not, but that's the purpose that was in there, and to slow or to eliminate single motherhood, parents, children out of wedlock. That was the purpose of what those monies and those funds were for, not for the state to take and turn around and make money off Title IV. Well, the issue is they're finding this out, and it's becoming public because of people like you and me that are sounding and making our voices known across this nation and wondering what you've got and what you're doing. Um, and like I said, you're looking at mass corruption all over the place, even not even following what was supposed to be their policies and procedures because they know they're getting ready to get caught and they're afraid. What they're so bold as doing is saying nobody's going to speak up. But this also with this case that I posted in the TikTok there, showing the story of the attorney's children being there, that's trying to control the bar association or good attorneys from doing their job. When does the state overstep the bar once again to intimidate attorneys, which also goes to a lot of questions we see out there on Facebook, on different platforms, and everything else? Well, I can't find an attorney that'll stand up against CPS. Well, this is why. Because if they take and go against CPS and they've got a family, they're going to go after their kids. They've just demonstrated that. They've just demonstrated they'll kill somebody for trying to speak up about other people's right and bring the discussion to the table was all that he was doing, whether you liked him or not. The point was it was bringing the art of debate. If you had a stronger debate or a point of view, then go debate the man. There was the thing here, ask me questions. And that's speaking up for free speech. And if that isn't absolutely, and this is not an isolated incident, there was another shot, and whether you like it or not, a shot at the president of the United States for this stuff, let alone everything that's going on. Like I said, this is an evil within or another powerful organization that is trying to be uprooted from our country that is now fighting back with weapons, with guns and ammo and everything. And it has nothing to do with gun control or anything else. It's simply saying, that's crazy. Yes, Dr. Death, file your cases, man. And when these gets in and they get scared because it's on the record now. And you can go look it up, whether your case was dismissed or not. You can still go back into Pacer and look at those things. It's on the federal record. And they're finding out mass corruption, even in the court systems and all sorts of other things, through there. And not even following, states not even following their own property and procedures, such as, taking people's children to do an investigation. And Kentucky's notorious for this, where we're finding out, let alone you've got a judge that's adjudicating in two counties, Clark County and Madison County, that says on the record, I hate homeschoolers. Says it on the record, literally on the record in the courtroom before everybody. And right there's an immediate reason to remove that judge because of bias, and then begins to take people's kids just because they homeschool. And that's said before she even makes her first ruling in several cases. Like I said, that's been going on. And you can look back through once again the records. There's plenty of people in Kentucky that have had that judge and other judges that bring their bias into the courtroom. You're not allowed to have bias as a judge or magistrate. You're not. It's a violation of your very oath. But once again, it's the good old boy system. Who's going to come and get me? Everybody's got my case, or got my back and this and that. We need to start reminding people to go look up the Battle of Athens that happened right here in America, right after World War II. The same thing, corrupt politicians, corrupt people in power and everything else to turn around. We, the people, took and stood up and said, I've had enough. I'm not going to do this anymore. And they're not going to tolerate it anymore. And there's the power that they don't want you to realize is we, the people. And that's scary out there, that they know once you realize this stuff, we outnumbered them and they're going to be held accountable. But to go after somebody like Charlie Kirk, or like we said in the comments there, you look at the TikTok shows that CPS in Kentucky out, that report was out of Louisville, that they're doing an investigation and follow up with that, is, they went after the attorney for standing up for the mom about their policies, procedures, and everything else. Hey, you're not following this. I'm going to file reports. And then here's retaliation. We're going to take the attorney's kids. Now you know why attorneys don't take and stand up. That's scary as hell, people. That's them messing with the judicial branch of government by intimidation and coercion. How dare you stand up? Because if you stand up, You know what's going to happen? We're going to take your kids. Now you're in the system. What kind of how much longer are the people going to take and tolerate this stuff before we're asking, especially after this stuff, you're on, Mr. President, declare martial law, shut down the court, shut down all these things that keep the federal courts open, take over these states, and they're rebelling. Chicago, you got people in Chicago turn around, hey, go ahead. Gang members, go ahead, come after us, man. We don't play here. Man, you're looking at shooting at the United States military. You're just ignorant. That's a whole different level than trying to kill a cop. That's shooting at the United States military. They don't play. And it's about to come down to some of that. People, we're looking, we're not the only nation though. Our nations like Ireland, Scotland, England, France, Spain, all these people that have been taken over, their people are rising up over this one world order thing that was happening that is now exposed. It came from the COVID jabs and everything else, and they were finding out that and mass immigration and so on and so forth, that they're bringing enemies into their borders and then taking over. You don't believe me? Believe what I'm talking about. Look at what's happening up in Minnesota. Look at what's happening in Michigan. Those people now they're taking over cities like crazy, and they're breeding. I'm going to use the word breeding, having children over and over again to outnumber things because they can outbreed us, and they live on that particular system. Well, now that Trump has cut back all that other stuff, what do you think they're going to do? They're going to do a jihad. No, the infidel owes me money. It's right in their practices and religions. Go look it up. You owe them a tax for tolerating you. And it was under, like I said, other administrations. Go look it up. Who repealed that stuff? I'm not going to say any names. I'm going to let you do your own research. What does that mean? You've got enemies within our borders looking to overthrow our government, and they're looking to take and steal our children to do so. Guys, this is nothing new. And yes, we've got a lot of stuff going. We've got our case going on. You've got Connie Ragul that's dealing with stuff over here and working on proposing things for once again to a bill for to the House and everything else to have something signed into law to restrain that type of stuff. We've had Nancy Schaefer that tried to blow the lid off of all this stuff too, through Georgia and the things that she found. She was killed for that stuff and then massively wiped over with something else. How much more is this nation going to take before it takes and rises up and does what it's supposed to do under the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution? But there's the issue. You have generations now that have no idea what that says. Now you have things like this attacking our country and wondering why, and people sitting back, what can I do? Basically, it's going to come down to they're coming for your kids. We know they are. They've taken away all the ICE has taken away all the illegal immigrants and everything else out of child and CPS. They lost millions and millions of dollars because of that. Now they are so blatant to meet those deadlines or those quotas because they basically have contracts with people nationally and internationally, which once again, we have that information of what they're doing. They have to meet those contract obligations or their lives are in jeopardy. Why? Because you can't meet the quotas. If you can't meet the quotas, we're going to go somewhere else. They're not giving off the money of this and that and the protection, the influence, everything else that's going on. You're not going to hear stories that it was released all the way from Israel that they used Epstein Island as a thing to trap and get control Mossad, a section of Mossad in the Israeli government, to get control of the United, not just the United States, but celebrities and other places from all around the world, that they use that as a recruiting station, a blackmail site is what they did for that. And then it was completely exposed. That's why you're not going to hear half those things. And that's why you're going to see all these things for pro, because that's going to, once again, that's not every single person in Israel or that is Jewish descent. It's a sect. And that's the thing we've got to understand. It's not all people, it's just some. And that's okay. But when you get others to come in and force the hand and use blackmail and power and corruption and coercion and intimidation to get what they want, that is not the way to take and do things. One, it's illegal as hell. It's a felony. But once again, they're so scared. And then the question becomes, how many of our politicians are corrupt? I mean, we see some that flaunt it, just out there. Well, I just exposed a loophole in the system. What happened to honor and integrity? Serving. They don't have it anymore. You've seen people, if you go back through the history, you'll see people even like Nancy Pelosi, Joe Biden, this and that, and even flip their whole perspective on everything because they were bought and paid for, we'll say, in many different things. And that's what they're coming to find out. Now, once again, that is once again my opinion as it goes through there. There's a lot of facts that are adding up to that, such as insider trading with Nancy Pelosi, such as they now a court has taken and exposed January 6th that she was the spearhead of causing all that, and she can be sued by all those people in a class action lawsuit that was determined by a court. That changes everything. But once again, we have got to wake up to the fact that mass corruption is happening in our country. And these people need to be held accountable, and this needs to stop. When you have CPS come in, and if you don't comply with this, even the Bar Association, you step out of line as a judge or even a lawyer, we'll take your kids. Then what? I think a lot of lawyers need to wake up about that story that was breaking on like I said, on TikTok, that was on Louisville News, and I'm sure it's not the only story that's out there that they've turned on people for defending their actual clients' rights, that they'll steal their children. What happens with that? Now there's a conflict of interest because you're in with CPS. What a better way to stop a lawyer than steal their kids? That lawyer now has to be replaced because there's a conflict of interest. That is manipulation of the damn judicial system. Why? Why, when that was done and everything else, did people not rise up to come after those people saying, no, this is retaliation. This is bullshit. This is why? Because they have got you beat down like the slaves. And they're controlling the narrative, and people don't want to hear this. Well, now people are going to wake up because people are getting killed over just speaking up. Well, I don't want to lose. Your freedom does not come free. Let's make that very, very, very clear. Your freedom does not come free. It costs somebody something. And now it's come to your home front. It's not in somebody else's yard, so to speak, or another country or anything else. It's right here at home. Our freedoms are absolute, our family, everything that is America is now officially under attack, including free speech to expose. They're going to kill people to silence them for what they know. Unless the voice becomes so loud, we cut their funding, we cut their sources, their power, and everything else, and we hold them accountable. And everybody says, well, how do we do that? Go read the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. It's just that simple. The power is found within the people. Am I calling for violence? That is not what I'm saying. You do what you feel you need to do under your rights and what you claim. It's just that simple. It's just that simple. We, the people, have got to speak up, be heard. And when we're retaliated like something like that, you just did the opposite thing. You didn't silence him. You woke up a sleeping giant. You had that video that we took and we produced earlier about a police officer that blew the whistle on all law enforcement, talking to him about saying, hey, we better watch out. We better do the right thing. We better honor our oaths because we're violating people's constitutional rights. He admitted it. He called it out and called for them to correct themselves, because here's the thing. They said, even that guy that and he got fired over that. Even the guy that called them out for that, he was aware of the sleeping giant and even trying to tell law enforcement, if these people stand up, you got a problem, because they outnumber us. They outnumber us not just in that, they outnumber us in weapons, they outnumber us in just pure numbers, let alone you're looking at veterans, that people that are not serving, and say, well, what are they going to do with this? The veterans alone have the experience. They say, what are you going to do when they roll in tanks, they do this and that? Man, there's guys out there know how to take that stuff out like it's nothing. Knows the chink in every armor. Because that's the American people. That's the veterans. They know how to take out a tank. They know how to take out this. They know how to do this. They know how to do all that stuff, all that technology. They know what works and doesn't. And you don't think they're going to share that with the American people? The ones they took the oath to protect and to uphold this country? Seriously flawed. But there's got to be a time of a reckoning. And that time is now for people to wake up and do something. And I really hope that our president comes in and says, we've had enough of this stuff. We need to purge these people and find out exactly what groups and everything else and everybody that's in line, stop with the surgery, clamp it down. Find out who the un-Americans are, the people that aren't for the Constitution. Go through those things. They come down, and people say, well, that's too much. No, that's keeping this country safe, and it's not violating anybody's rights, because here's the thing: if you're committing acts of treason, you have no rights. Constitution specifically says that if you turn against this country and against that Constitution, you can't claim I want the same protection to the things you were wanting to destroy. That's why they don't like this show and other shows out there, or you guys out there sharing this information and this knowledge out there. And that's what scares the hell out of them. So what do? We get louder. We're more in the courts. We're filing like crazy, like, what we're saying, Dr. Death. I filed my federal case today. Man, flood them damn courts with those things. Keep it about constitutional rights and file it against it. Keep the other stuff out of there. I hate to tell you that. Keep it about constitutional, or connect it constitutionally. You got to be able to trace it back and articulate it. That's what we've been trying to tell you guys. This is stuff you should have known and been taught while you were in school. But wait a minute, we don't teach cursive anymore. We just have a 1 semester class, or maybe 2, on civics or government or whatever you may call it. We should be learning our constitutional rights from when we're a child. 1, the Fifth Amendment, the right to shut the fuck up. I don't have to tell you shit, but they don't teach you that in school. You need to go run and tell a teacher. You need to go do this. I have a right to shut the hell up. I have a right to defend myself personally. They're not going to teach that. No, that's causing violence in schools, and we don't want that. The way to do it is peace and oversight and government. They're demonstrating totalitarianism in your public schools every single day, which is why they hate homeschoolers, the same way with that judge in Kentucky that adjudicates in, I believe it's Madison and Clark County. I hate homeschooling. You say it on the record. Well, guess what? You can't adjudicate anymore. Now what? You're gone. And then every case you've looked at now has to be scrutinized because of your bias and your belief system, let alone how arrogant, let alone how comfortable a judge has to be to say that on the record. Then the question becomes, are you tainting that evidence of those court records, of those things even being said? How far does the corruption go? And then the question becomes, how did you allow that to happen for so long? And nobody stepped in. The state doesn't step in to do anything. And you've got everybody in that courtroom and all those attorneys in and out of this judge's courtroom, for example, that hasn't reported this judge for saying that. Why? Fear of retaliation, their own safety, living in fear. This country wasn't built on living in fear. You know, it was once said, give me liberty or give me death. I don't choose anything else. I want to live free. I'd rather die than live like this type thing. So we fight. And we fight, but we've got to come together. We've got to come together on every aspect of everything to turn around and make sure that this is, and our voices are heard, not before politicians. It's the fact that we demand this, and we demand it under the Constitution. And those that don't fall in line with it, well, it's very clear. You need to read the Constitution. What does it say? That's called treason. What is treason? Punishable by death. That's not my words. That's right in the Constitution. That's why they don't want to do that, because it would cost them their lives if they were caught. Or they kind of brush it off. Why? Because, well, that's okay. I've got my buddies over here in the judicial system, just as corrupt as I am. I could call in favors and everything else, and you'll get lesser sentences, which is why you're seeing all these pedophiles that are being convicted, that are getting light sentences or probations across this country, because it produces more money for them to go out and reoffend again and again and again. A lot of people are going, why don't we just kill them? Why don't we just castrate them? Why don't we? And I've heard all those arguments. Why? Because it doesn't make anybody any money. But what does it say? We some of us, you've learned that lesson. We've heard that lesson before, that the love of money, not money itself, but the love of it is the root of all evil. Of gold, of aspiring, of this and that position, gold. They want more money. They want more power. It's like a drug to them. It's no different than heroin or fentanyl to some of these people. It is. They're just as big as addict. They're just as bad of an addict. These people that are like this, that are in these positions, as a drug addict. And they're addicted to money and they're addicted to power. But most people don't see it that way. They won't identify it the same way. If you talk to a psychiatrist or somebody that does mapping of the brain, they'll tell you it lights up the same centers of the brain as doing dope. Now I'm talking heroin, fentanyl, dope, real dope. We've got to do something, people in this country. We've got to do something. This cannot go on. And I'm hoping, and once again, our hearts and our thoughts, our prayers, whatever it may be, go out to Charlie Kirk's family. For my Charlie Kirk's, it has been confirmed that Charlie Kirk's kids and wife was at this event. Being proud of all the people that turned out, whether you like it or not, of your own family, proud of you and being there to support you, but then being executed right before your family and hundreds, if not thousands of people. I just don't know what to say. It's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. But it's got to mean something. The same thing with Nancy Schaefer. This was about the children, and we're causing harm to their bottom line, and they hate it. And they need to silence people because they're going to uncover something, and then they're going to be known for what it is. Why do you think it's so? People say, there's no list, there's this and that with the Epstein and all that other. We're worried about maybe public relations or all this other stuff. You want to talk to some people about what was going on? You need to talk to people that were there, people that we've already took and within our network and everything else. That were there at the Diddy freak offs and everything else that we've talked to that's been on this network. People that there were firsthand. You've got other people that have been connected with us that have been connected all the way to presidents, even to the Bushes, of the stuff that they were doing. It doesn't matter what side of the damn aisle it was. It's the amount of sick, disgusting bastards that have this thing for children that this has got to stop, whether it's adrenochrome, which we know is a patented product, and considered a drug. There is a patent on it. Or the fact of these people that just get away with it and then they're afraid, well, I could just keep enjoying it and everything else so long as I don't get caught and I don't rat on my friends. That's not called integrity. It's not called honor. It's something we used to have in this country that seems to be gone. And it's something we need and we must return to if we're going to save our country, no matter what that may mean after this. Because once again, it's too much. Shooting at presidents, shooting at other people, just exercising free speech because you don't agree with them, but yet you won't go down to have a debate with them and have a conversation because they know you're exposing you, let alone the millions and billions of dollars that they're going after. Here's the other thing we have to ask. Does this have anything to do with the Fed? The ones that were printing money that is connected to the mortgage companies and the banks and everything else that were printing money, we're exposing about a case that they killed a judge over, saying that, mortgages were, unconstitutional, that they were illegal, that they were printing money out of thin air due to the Fed on credit certificates, not on real money or real trade. And that case is now becoming up with that coming out, showing how they controlled the banks and everything else in the narrative to give money because there's no money. If that was the case, you had to have something material. Nobody would be able to buy a house. The credit system would take and completely collapse. Yeah, because it's not supposed to be that way. You're supposed to have what you have and earn it. It's supposed to be reasonable, but you can't afford stuff. Go back and look at what it used to cost people. You used to be able to get a part-time job in between high school and college and you had enough to pay for the semester or for the whole year and then do the same thing over again to where college didn't cost anything. Now you got to take out a loan, and then the terms of the loans, if you looked at these student loans backed by the federal government, it's a damn scam. 200, 500% interest rate. You'll never get out of debt with it. Which is why some of these people, when you go to work for, like, some of these things, if you'll remember different things, and this is absolutely true, but it was portrayed in a movie called The Firm. Now, I'm not a big fan of some of the actors and everything else in there, but it brought out a lot of truths. Hollywood had certain ways of going through and revealing some of that at certain times. Hey, become a lawyer, you get part of this firm. Well, guess what? They own you for so long. You have a contract and you work for them. Well, here's the issue. We're going to pay off your student loans. You don't have to deal with that anymore. Why? Because they know how all that stuff works. If you can't afford it, you're not supposed to be able to buy it. But how many people are turning around? I'm going to get this, and I got that grant, I got this, I got that. And then they turn around and then the handouts are done. They're cutting all that off because it's not fair to those. We're not being equal under the law if you're taking and giving everything to these people, why, at the cost of everybody out there that's actually doing something. And then you want to steal our kids and then bankrupt us on top of it and go after everything we've got or worked for. There's no retirement. Then you can't go into retirement and do like the American dream. Well, I could just work for so long and then work till the age of 65 or 67 and then turn around and retire and get that. That's gone. That's an illusion. So then once again, it comes down to, then why are we paying into this system? Why are you paying into Social Security? Why? Why? Because you have to. Well, there's other ways to do it. Well, I don't want to do this. I don't want to. There's got to be something, because that's how they're robbing you one way or another. Where's my full pay for my day's wages? I don't want to participate. You've got people that can opt out of that. Hey, I've got my own retirement. I don't have to this. I don't wish to participate in the Social Security system. There's got to be an option. It can't be forced. At the same way, the IRS thing, the whole scam with the banks and everything. If you guys look at some of those forms and everything, especially with Tiff and the Punisher show that exposed, if you follow Tiff on there, that it says right on the forms, these are voluntary for individuals. Then why the hell are we paying for this stuff? Why are you stealing money out of my paycheck? It's not mandatory. But then they try to get you to know, oh, well, you didn't do this. Well, here you go. Here's now. Why do I have to go to court on something you said that's mandatory or that's voluntary? Contributions are voluntary. You've had the wool pulled over your eyes, and people are had enough, and they're tired of being broke. You're experiencing and getting ready to see the fall of all the financial markets again, the same way we did in 1920s with the stock market crash again. It's going to happen again. Because once it's exposed, it has to collapse. That's why it failed the first time. It didn't work the first time. It ain't working now. Give the people their money that they're entitled to, that's in these Social Security trusts, that you don't want to tell people around and say, well, that's a misconception. It's not. There's people that can show you how it's traded, a cusp number, the whole damn 9 yards. It's a real thing, and they're robbing us. And they're stealing our children on top of it. Now what? The question is where do we go from here, America? Well, I guess only history will know. Whether we sit back and allow this to happen again, or we rise up one way or another. Because I guarantee you, thousands, if not tens of thousands, show up at your local courthouses, holding people accountable, holding your own grand jury. Guess you didn't know you could do that. Yeah, you ought to look into that. It just has to be by the people. You can hold them 100% accountable. Have a jury right there. We indict you. We arrest you. We're now going to take and hold a tribunal. We're going to present the evidence against you. For what? Treason. You better go look at the Battle of Athens and several other things in our country. It's possible, and it's 100% legal. But do your homework. Once again, we're not insinuating. We're just reporting the news and giving you a history lesson. It's up to you guys. Guys, on a sad day here, we want to thank you for joining us for this special report,
Hey, look,
and that
this for every mama
we
got the
hope
baby
this
snatched
will
on some
everybody.
bogus shit.
Now that
For
we
every
have
pops they
lost
locked
their
out the
lives,
crib like he ain't blood.
it exposed now that even lawyers are
CPS
being
slowing
attacked by
in on
CPS if
patience
they don't get what
alone.
they want
We
and
know what you
exposing
want.
them. This is mass
The man's
corruption.
war
This is the
is
dark
gunning for
government. This is the
CPS.
underbelly of everything.
Kick doors, no warrants. They taking
It's all out there.
receipts.
The evidence
Say
is
it's
there.
neglect, but they planting their
This is
greed.
the shadow
Poison in
government
their
they're
pocket.
talking about that
Judge
is
got
willing to
feet.
enslave and
Running
take
up the
over the
business.
people. What are
Adoption
we going to
fee.
do about it? Because guess
Contracts
what? Now it's on
overseas. Put
American
partners in
soil.
France. But shorty from
And
the
it's been
top.
slight,
He
and it's
ain't
been
get a
silent,
chance.
and it's
Mama
been
worked
slow,
two
and it's
jobs. Daddy
creeping
do
in.
right, but they still snatch his baby in the middle of the night.
Guys,
Fuck
it's time for
CPS.
something
They
to
ain't
break. It's
say
time for
shit.
some
Just a
people,
civil
something to
force
happen.
case. Getting rich off kids.
Maybe this is the thing that changes everything with the death of Charlie Kirk. I don't know. And like I said, once again, our hearts, thoughts, and prayers go out to him and his family. But we know, all of us here that are in this fight with CPS and against it, we know exactly what he was fighting for and what he was revealing. Another part of this same Hydra, this same head. And until the whole thing is taken down and all of it's taken, it's going to keep regenerating with somebody else and something else slithering in to, steal and destroy. It's the love of money and the love of power that they have that they should never have in this country. We're all equal. Guys, if you've missed this, like I said, you can go back on YouTube. I'm sure it's going to be published and everything else. This is a special report. Thanks for joining us. If you missed it, go back and look at it again. But yeah, this is about we exposed that the stuff with Charlie Kirk is it's much deeper than what has happened of him just speaking out. It's about them taking the children and exposing all these pedophile rings and child trafficking rings that they're mad about. That's what it's about. And then the exposure. If you look back in the comments, guys, there's a TikTok video that shows out of Louisville, Kentucky, about where CPS, when a lawyer or an attorney stood up for a mother, that all of a sudden, they went after the attorney's kids and family. That's why you can't find an attorney to fight CPS, because they're going to do the same thing to those attorneys. And as soon as they do that, that's called a conflict of interest. Guys, it's scary, this world that we're living in. But something's got to give. We can't live like this anymore, where you can't even speak, you can't articulate, you can't, go through everything that we've got to do and live free, live the American dream with life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and shake off these chains of tyranny that we all know that we're going through. It's time to assemble. It's time to come together. It's time to get rid of the bias and who's going to be the damn hero. It's just time to get together, and it's time to end it. This cannot go on. And once again, this is treason. To silence somebody for their words, you have that officer terminated for warning law enforcement, that, from my understanding, that I think he's seen one of our shows, from my understanding, about law enforcement, about their violating their oath. But guys, this is something that's not happening on foreign soil. This is something happening on our soil. And as a lot of veterans have said, the rules of engagement are completely different on our soil. So maybe it's that time. I don't know. Like I said, history will tell. But we're just here to, like I said, once again, to give you the news, to give you the education, and to give you the history, and to challenge you to do your own research. You're an individual. You're responsible for your own actions, your own rights, and everything. But how much more are we going to tolerate of our rights and them being killed for those that will stand? That's not America. Guys, thanks for joining. Like I said, if you missed it, check the repeat on the YouTube. Appreciate you guys. Have a great day, and we'll see you again. Like I said, don't forget to check out the shows tonight. Tiff and the Punisher and a few other shows. We're working on the schedule for the rest of them. Once again, you'll see me again on Sunday, 9:30. If not before then, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube, Gunning for CPS. So much more to come. Like I said, if you haven't seen my Facebook posts, look at them. If you're friends with me on Facebook, there's a lot of stuff that's uncovered. One, I don't have TikTok. That was shared with me, and somebody showed me the video. But guys, this will blow your mind with what's going on. We've got to stop this, because this is so, why we're not at those courthouses and everything else, holding people accountable, or at CPS offices, surrounding them and holding them accountable for crimes. I don't get it. And why the FBI is not doing it on top of it, there's another question. Um, because that's what they're supposed to be there for, and the DOJ. So, guys, it's time to wake up. It's time to share the information and expose that these people didn't die for nothing. It's about the kids. It's about the money. It's about the power. And it's time for people to wake up. Thanks again. We'll see you next time. Have a great day.